in America, we've had a First Amendment that has been sanctified, and sometimes it has come under threat, but never been suppressed. For the French, democracy is much more fragile, and the press is really one of the defenders of that. My name is Dominique Laurent. I'm Associate Professor of French and French Civilization at Dickinson College. Freedom of the press and freedom of expression is something that sometimes we take a little bit for granted in the United States because it has been established in the Constitution from the beginning of the country. In France, the freedom of the press was not established by law until the late 1880s. It was limited during World War I and even more so during World War II, and also during the French-Algerian War in the 1950s and 60s. The French government resorted to censorship and even imprisonment of some journalists. So it's not taken for granted, and it's kind of a acid test of the democracy. That's why the French and French journalists in particular are always on the lookout for threats to them. And right now, the main threat is what we saw in Paris, fundamentalist Islam and the pressure on the French press to self-censor and not publish those cartoons. And that explains that strong reaction of the French press. Those people in Charlie Hebdo and other newspapers really absolutely refuse to be threatened. Because of that limited democracy, so for lack of a better word, the freedom to be able to say anything you want about the politician is really important for the French. And the Canard Enchaîné, that newspaper, is really feared by politicians of all sides because it very often reveals scandals and things like that. So there is a strong tradition going back almost to the Revolution of a strong satirical press, more so than in the United States, where precisely there hasn't been so much pressure from the authorities for censorship.